welcome back to A Chapter a Day.
Keeps the devil away.
I'm Pastor Pleck. That's Pastor Holland. We're talking John chapter 21, and we are going to outline it. We are going to make some observations, some interpretations, and some applications that you can take along with you on your day as you pray all day. Okay, so verses 1 through 14, it's the miraculous catch of fish. Jesus appears for the third time after his resurrection, and then they catch fish, they all run ashore. Then Jesus reinstates Peter with the old follow me after he asks him 3 times if he loves him. That's verses 15 through 19. Then you got Jesus and the beloved disciple. Just in case anyone was wondering who was the most loved, John lets you know he's the loved one. And in verses 20 through 25, he explains the what's that to you commentary that Peter and Jesus had, which is kind of interesting that there was still issue happening beyond that conversation of really Jesus, Peter, and John, meaning Peter must have talked a lot about maybe John wouldn't die. Who knows? We'll get into that in a second. Now, what are the observations that you're making in the text? My first observation is, do you think that Peter was saying that John wasn't going to die?
I do not think that, but there are some who think that.
Well,
and I've gone down the rabbit holes on YouTube of the theories that John is still alive to this day.
Do you think he's hanging out in Patmos? You're just kind of just going around checking. Do you think he's visited your church?
He could have. We've had some Johns, and didn't check in to see what their life story was, but there's definitely a theory that John, he's the only apostle whose death
is not
recorded. It's assumed he died in exile on Patmos.
But did he? And did we find his bones? No, we did not.
Man.
No relics of John's bones. Oh, what does that mean? All right, let's get into how about the fact that Peter was restored and how Jesus did it. He did it with the old trusty 3 times do you love me trick, and he made Peter sad.
Well, 3 times do you love me, because of the 3 times denying him, right? So back in John 18. So there's a lot here that's like Jesus is really doing in this restoration that's really cool. We said a few chapters ago, remember in John 18 that there is a charcoal fire.
Ah, yes.
Okay, so this is chapter 18, verse 18.
What is charcoal fire in Greek?
Anthrake? Hold on, let me check. Let me check it out.
You were supposed to know that by heart.
Anthrakia,
of course.
Anthrakia. And it's a Greek word that only appears 2 times in the New Testament. Right here in John, chapter 18, then chapter 21. And so in chapter 18, the servants and officers had made a charcoal fire because it was cold, and they were standing and warming themselves. Peter also was with them, standing and warming himself. And so this is where Peter denies Jesus 3 times. And the charcoal fire is mentioned here as kind of like the setting of his denial. And so when Jesus restores him, what does he do? He's got a charcoal fire there, setting the stage, bringing to mind the denial of Peter, denying Jesus. But then also he does the miraculous catch of fish, which is how he first called Peter.
And then boom, the last thing he says to him is, follow me.
And
well,
so
bam, that's exactly what he said.
That are laid at the beach, he's got fish and bread, reminding him of the miracle of feeding the 5,000. It's the only miracle that appears in all 4 Gospels, right?
Yep.
And so this very significant miracle, he's bringing together the scene of Peter denying him, as well as the reminder of when he first called him, the miracle and the words, follow me, as well as this memorable miracle of feeding the 5,000. And he brings it all together to bring Peter back into a restored place with him, and back to his calling to be a shepherd, to be a man who feeds God's sheep as a pastor.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And here's an observation, just that John was listening to the conversation of Peter and Jesus. Or was he listening? How far back was John? And why was John following?
Unsolved mystery.
I was like, if it were me, and maybe this is just, having sons, my sons always want to find out what I'm saying to the other son. And so they'll tag along just within earshot to kind of hear what was saying. And so what about him?
Yeah. Now there's also, there's a couple other mysteries in here. You got the 153 fish, right? What does it mean?
And is
that just a random number?
I think they were like, hey, someone's got to count these. But you don't think so? You think it's something bigger.
So many people have posited many things. Over the
Many
years.
positations.
Ancient zoologists believe that there are 153 species of fish. This is St. Jerome, 4th century, wrote this. And that the catch symbolized how the gospel will draw all peoples into the church, people of every kind. 153 is also a triangular number. 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5, etc., up to 17 is 153. And then 17, a symbol of completeness, God's law, completeness of God's law, 10 plus 7, spiritual perfection, 17. There's some people who go, hey, there's something spiritually significant about this number. Have you ever thought about this? Gone like, what does the 153 mean? Or
I just was like, wow, how many fish we get? And they actually counted them.
And it's just 153.
Yeah.
And they're like, I'm going to write this down.
I'm gonna, like how many fish was it? It was 153.
It's a big number.
Yeah, and you could have been like, it was a lot of fish, but then somebody was on the shore like, I want to count these.
Yeah.
And it was, probably Matthew sitting on the side counting, and John's like, hey, 153. And then Matthew just didn't put in his gospel for whatever reason, and so John's like, I'll put it in mine. So, just the only problem now, species, who knows what, current modern day scientists say, but there's about 37,000 known species of fish, but many scientists estimate 700 to 1 million total fish species out there. So,
That's
it could be 153 million. So I don't know. Yeah, but what do they know? It could be 153 based upon the different types of, there's a lot of fish that are like, they look a lot alike, and, there's a nuance on a fin, and you're like, that's a different species.
The other mystery here, or something that people debate about, is the different words used for love in the "Do you love me" part, right? Mm-hmm. So Jesus says,
"Phileo, agape."
Yeah, Jesus says, "Do you agape me?" Mm-hmm. And Peter says, "You know that I phileo you." And then Peter says again, "Do you agape me?" And Peter says, "You know I phileo you." And then Jesus says, "Do you phileo me?" And Peter's troubled, and he's like, "I phileo you." So does that matter? Is there any importance to that? Agape is the Greek word for like divine love. So like 1 Corinthians 13, the love chapter uses agape. Phileo is like, friendship love, brotherly love. Is there any significance to that? Or do you think it's just like, 153? It doesn't matter.
Does every word matter in God's word? I would say yeah.
Uh-huh.
And so therefore, this is the classic. Every preacher uses this. This is like, if you haven't used it.
This is just a preacher gimmick. There's something substantive here.
I mean, every preacher uses this, and if they haven't, let us help you out on using this. It'll make you look like you know Greek. Because there's a lot of times that phileo and agape are used interchangeably, but I really do think there's a distinction of the agape, sacrificial, ultimate love, which I think he's trying to get to the point, and Jesus meets him where he's at with his lack of agape love for him, and then he says like, "Do you phileo me?" Yeah, I phileo you. So I will start with that, because he probably doesn't want to say, "Yeah, I sacrificially love you," because I haven't, and so I'm not going to say that, and
yeah,
I'm a complete failure, and I know it.
But, right. He's, Peter's still dealing with, being restored and dealing with the guilt of what he did. But then it does point to his sacrifice at the end, where it says, he said this, verse 19, to show by what kind of death he was to glorify God.
Yeah.
So explain this. It says, "You will stretch out your hands, and another will dress you and carry you where you do not want to go." What does that mean?
That means he's going to go get crucified upside down.
So the dress you is like I'm going to put on your
burial clothes. Yeah.
And carry
I think he's going to be old, and he probably can't dress himself, or he's so, he's going to be dressed in the sense like, here's your prison garb. But yeah, I really think that him, I think that Jesus meets him where he is and then shows him he ultimately will die for him. Don't worry, you will die for me, which I don't know if I've ever had that worry. Like, man, I hope I get to die for Jesus. But in a different age where honor, like for any soldier, like dying in battle is like the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
Like there is no greater honor than dying for your country. And here's the ultimate honor, in a world that understands that kind of honor. The ultimate honor is dying for Jesus, and he'll get to do that. And you can't kill yourself, right? Like that doesn't count. And so you have to actually go and be martyred for him and have the faith to do it. And the question is, would he have the faith to do it? Well, he would have the faith to do it because of Jesus would give him the Holy Spirit power to do so.
Awesome. All right. Some good observations.
That was a lot of observations. Are there any other observations we need to kind of jump into, or do we need to go straight into some interpretations?
Let's interpret.
All right. Let's get to, how about, man needs repeated restoration. How about that?
That's good. Yeah.
Like, I think there's a part of us that we can all identify with Peter. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. That I love that aspect of like Jesus has to ask him 3 times, "Do you love me?" And he's like, "Yeah, I love you." The same way that I think one of my sons would answer if I said if he did something, he'd say yes, but then give me a half-hearted answer of like, "I did what I
yeah.
Did you brush your teeth?" "Yeah, I was in the bathroom." Like that kind of answer.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to be asked 3 times. It's like oh, never mind.
Please share. I would love to know what was.
Okay, I don't.
You have to share this
Might
now.
have to cut this out later, but it's like an Austin Powers movie where the guy, he couldn't lie if you asked him 3 times. You remember? Yeah. And so they was just, who does number 2
work for?
Okay. Anyway, let's keep it moving here.
We digress with some Austin Powers. How about we are naturally curious about what God wants to do with other people. We have a hard time
when
with
Peter's asking about John.
Yeah. He's like, "What about that guy? What are you gonna do with him?" And Jesus is like, "What's that to you?"
Yeah, I like just that Jesus gives Peter this command, this commission to feed my sheep. And there's kind of an observation. You go and read 1 Peter, and you see like the pastoral heart, of him feeding the sheep. Peter obeyed this command. He became, a shepherd. But Jesus told him explicitly to do that. And so I think just in our human nature, like Peter needed to hear words of restoration and commission from Jesus, and I think we need that.
Well, 1 Peter 5, I really love what you just said. "I urge the elders among you, as your fellow elder, I urge the elders among you, give a shepherd's care to God's flock among you."
Yeah.
Exercising oversight, not under compulsion, but willingly as God would have you, not for shameful gain, but eagerly, not domineering over those in your charge, but being examples to the flock.
Yeah.
And when the chief shepherd appears, you will see the unfading crown of glory, which I just really appreciate that he's just on his shepherding motif here.
Yeah, took that word from Jesus very seriously, and so that's good. We need those words from Jesus. What's to teach about God?
How about
God?
Yeah, God pursues and then restores. That's like he came. At this point, this is the 3rd time. So the other times that he revealed himself was on the road to Emmaus that night, 8 days later, when they're all at the same house, or I guess in the house.
And then again, when Thomas is there.
When Thomas is there. And so I guess the road to Emmaus doesn't count. But you've got, the 2 nights where Thomas isn't there, the 1 night that he is there, and then here this 3rd one. And I love how I don't know if Peter was restored or if why is Peter going fishing and not getting on mission? Like what's his deal? Why is he not waiting for the Holy Spirit or whatever he's supposed to be doing?
Yeah, well, it's like he felt so ashamed of what he did that he's like, I'm just going to go back to fishing now. Yeah. And, I'm going to go back to my old life. Someone like me, even when he first came to Jesus, he was like, I'm not worthy,
Go away from me.
Away, yeah. And here he is feeling that same way again. And Jesus is saying, no, I chose you. I called you. I'm restoring you. I still have this mission for you. And so, it shows, I think, the grace of God to choose weak, unworthy people who screw up, and God doesn't, throw us out.
So I also think this is a good perseverance of the saints story.
Yeah.
Like, Peter doesn't want to follow Jesus in the first place. Jesus chooses him anyway.
Yeah.
Peter then wants to quit. Jesus doesn't let him quit.
Yeah.
And I think
you
that
could say like the flip side of perseverance of the saints is the preservation of the saints.
Yeah.
God preserves his saints, and he does that through these words of reassurance and encouragement.
Yeah. How about God shares and provides abundantly? I love how like, hey, just put the net on the other side. And now they didn't, did they know it was Jesus? Maybe, but they just obeyed. And there was great abundance in the obedience.
Yeah. Yeah. And the fact that this is what, it's not even in John's gospel that this is how he called Peter. Right? It's in Luke and
Matthew.
Is it in Matthew? I know it's in Luke.
Matthew 4, right?
I know he called him from fishing in Matthew 4. I don't remember the miraculous catch. You might be right, though.
Yeah,
you might be right.
Look. You might be right.
It's not in the beginning of John. And so, like, John, in order to really get this, he's assuming you've read the other Gospels. He's assuming you've read Luke or, Matthew and Luke, that you know this story. And there's something about the fact that God is redoing a miracle to kind of like, that's just really special to me.
Right.
He does the same thing, throw the net on the other side, same thing he did in Luke 5. And I don't know, there's something about that just shows like the special kind of love that God has for his people and the individual love and care and concern he has for how he called each person into relationship with him.
Yeah. I love that.
It's powerful.
Yeah. What else we got then? What about, how about God's sovereign over the life and death span of all people? Like, this is how you're going to die. He already knew.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's comforting. I talked to someone, they were really sad about the loss of someone, as if like their sin was the reason for their death, like God's punishing me and that's why they took this person I love. And I was like, God already had the lifespans of people written out. That doesn't make you not responsible in the sense where like if you murdered them, but like this isn't God's punishment for your sin on them, in a weird sort of way. If you would have been more obedient to God, and then God wouldn't have taken this person. And so I think you got to understand that God is in control. He doesn't let a sparrow fall to the ground apart from his will. And we're more than merry sparrows, and he's written all of our lives out in his book.
Yeah. And then also just he's like, he says something to explain, hey, here's how you're going to die. And then he's like, follow me. Yeah. It's like, yep, you're going to die. Following me is going to cost you your life. But anyway, come follow me. Like, just the way he says it is so like, and
follow me, you're going to die doing it.
Yeah, and just direct about that. But, by this time, Peter's like, I know, I get it, and it's worth it, and I'm coming.
Just FYI, the great catch of fish is not in Matthew. It's only in Luke.
Luke 5, 1 through 11, right? And then here at the end of John.
Yep. All right, let's get into a sin to confess or avoid, a promise to claim, an example to follow, a command to obey, and knowledge to believe about this passage that we can use to apply today.
Verse 3, when Peter says, I'm going fishing.
Yeah.
And it's not, to me, when I hear those words and I look at this context, I go, man, this is not just, I love fishing. I'm going to go fishing. This is him walking away from his calling.
Yeah.
I'm going back to the life that I gave up to follow Christ as an apostle. I'm going back to it.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
I go like, that's the sin to avoid. If God's called you to something, then don't go back to who you used to be.
Man, that's good. I really feel like there's a lot of people who I've met with over time, and they have a calling and they keep not fulfilling it. But that doesn't mean the call is rescinded. It just means it's probably going to happen way later. And you're not going to be able to have as much fruit from it, but you won't have peace. You won't have joy. You won't have the settledness of your soul until you're walking in that calling.
Yeah.
What about command to obey, example to follow or not to follow? don't compare yourselves with other disciples.
Oh, yeah.
I guess I'm not sure the example to follow. That might be the example not to follow. Don't be like Peter, who was wanting to know what Jesus was going to do with John. Like, just let every person not stop. Don't let your prayer be like, God, what are you going to do with that other guy? As opposed to, Lord, what do you want to do with me?
Yeah. I like that.
How about command obey? Follow me.
Yep. And if you've been listening to, this is the end of the fourth gospel now.
This is 4 gospels. We have 4 gospels.
Made it this far.
Way to go.
Matthew, Mark, Luke, and now John, and you are still not following Jesus. Follow Jesus today.
Yeah.
You know who he is now. He's the Son of God, the Messiah, the Christ, the Son of God. And John was written that you might believe and have life in his name by believing. And so believe. Follow Jesus today.
Yeah, I can't think of anything better to end on that. I really think that if you've been listening for the past, 3-4 months.
Yeah.
3 months. Past 3 months, it's time for you to take the next step and put your faith and trust in Jesus today. So we're going to leave you with that. And we'll see you next time with Acts chapter 1 on a chapter a day.